Hello, welcome to Best of the Best, Playing with Power series where we rate the top cards, decks, sets, and much more from a CEDH perspective. Magic players have received their wax-stamped envelopes and are boarding the platform to an even more magical world. The plane of Arcavios is home to the Strixhaven School of Magic. It's not Harry Potter, we promise. This mage school has 5 two-color houses that each align with the enemy colors of magic. The set is primarily focused around spell slinging, however, powerful magic beings come alongside them to keep them in check. We love the set from a top-down thematic perspective, and we think it will bring some very fun things to casual EDH. Of course, we're most interested in the powerhouses of this set. In today's list, we are going to tell you what we think are the top cards from Strixhaven from a CEDH perspective. So without further ado, let's dive right in. First up on today's list is a modal double-faced card. The front side is Wandering Archaic. Archaic costs 5 for a 4/4 avatar and has, whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, they may pay 2. If they don't, you may copy the spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Its backside is called Explore the Vastlands. Vastlands is a sorcery that costs 3 and says, each player looks at the top 5 cards of their library, reveals a land and or instant or sorcery from among them, then puts the cards that revealed this way into their hand and the rest on the bottom of their library in a random order. Each player gains 3 life. While we don't really foresee Vastlands to make its way into CEDH, Wandering Archaic just might. Albeit expensive, Archaic is a great hate bear tax effect. It can double up on removal and counter spells that your opponents cast. Worst case scenario, it makes opponents spend additional mana on their most critical turns. Best case scenario, you get free copies of counter magic during stack wars and maybe even get a few tutors along the way. It can add to the stack of critical interaction when you have none otherwise. It also incentivizes players not to pay the tax to put the player farthest ahead even further behind. 5 mana is definitely expensive and not something to take lightly. The effect is very powerful, however, and may go well in decks that have a much longer game plan. Coming up next is Solve the Equation. This sorcery costs 2 and a blue and reads, search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. While this doesn't seem like a very splashy card on its surface, this card is very powerful. There are very few cards in Magic's history that actually let you search up any instant or sorcery card and put it into your hand. Mystical Tutor costs less, but it puts it on top of your library. Spellseeker gives you a body, but it only searches up mana values 2 or less. This card will help you find any instant or sorcery. Mono blue decks and decks without black will love this card. You can fetch up anything from protection to your win cons like Demonic Consultation, Ad Nauseam, or Peer into the Abyss. It's a great card and we are happy to start including it into our decks. At number 5 we have Vanishing Verse. Verse is an instant that costs white and a black and says, exile target monocolored permanent. Verse is another cheap removal spell that is very useful in CEDH. The limitation of only hitting monocolored permanents most notably doesn't hit many commanders and no artifacts. It does, however, take care of many of the powerful cards that almost every deck plays. It exiles most of the format's hate bears like Hull Breacher, Opposition Agent, and Eidolon of Rhetoric. It removes powerful draw engines like Rhystic Study, Sylvan Library, and Narset Parter of Veils. We foresee this card being slotted into decks that are also playing things like Abrupt Decay or Assassin's Trophy. For 2 mana, instant speed removal, this is sure to see some CEDH play. Next on our list is Strict Proctor. Proctor costs 1 and a white for a 1/3 Spirit Cleric. Proctor has flying and also has, whenever a permanent enters the battlefield causes a triggered ability to trigger, counter that ability unless its controller pays 2. Another much needed hate bear joins the fight. Proctor could potentially allow the triggered ability to resolve rather than stopping it completely. However, it does hit non-creature permanents, which other hate bears typically don't. This can still hinder your opponents from attempting Thassa's Oracle combos, as it will still make those cost more. This still does affect a large number of other staples and win conditions in CEDH too. It can prevent animate dead loops from occurring. It makes Hammer of Nazan alongside Godo cost more or to wait another turn. It puts a steep tax on grinding station combos. It even makes all imprint triggers very difficult to deal with. Its toughness is noteworthy as well. It can survive attacks from Temna and more common 2 damage board wipes found in CEDH. All around, Strict Proctor will put a damper on combo decks and is a welcome addition to the team. Coming in at number 3 on today's list is Rushed Rebirth. Rebirth is an instant that costs black and a green and has choose target creature. When that creature dies this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser mana value, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Rebirth is a great way to instantly tutor a creature from your deck. Most notably, you don't have to target your own creature. You can choose an opposing Hullbreacher that is about to die and get your own Thassa's Oracle. You can tutor up a Hate Bear after a board wipe hits the stack. A to the battlefield instant speed tutor has a very high power ceiling. The options are limited only by the remaining creatures in your deck. Our runner-up for today's list is Witherbloom Apprentice. Apprentice is black and a green for a 2/2 human druid. It has Magecraft and reads, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. While this doesn't seem like a super powerful card, the possibilities of this card are fantastic. Everyone who saw the Magecraft ability immediately looked at cards like Chain of Smog to go infinite. This card plus Chain of Smog kills the table. Cast Chain of Smog targeting yourself, discarding 2 cards, then continue to copy it over and over again until the table is dead. Chain of Smog doesn't require cards in your hand, so you can continue to copy it even if your hand is empty. The thing that is interesting about this card, however, is how neatly this card becomes a win condition in CEDH without any real work. Underworld Breach frequently uses Brain Freeze to either mill yourself out or mill your opponents. Now whenever you cast Brain Freeze, the cast and each storm copy drains your opponents. This is especially useful if you are trying to mill them and have a pesky Gitrog player with 2 Shuffle Titans preventing them from being milled out. The Isochron Scepter Dramatic Reversal combo is now lethal with this card. Remember, you get 2 Magecraft triggers with Isochron. Isochron first copies, then casts. This isn't even considering all the other things we do in CEDH and the value this card provides. Gaining life is better for Ad Nauseam and Necropotence. Casting instants and sorceries weakens opponents' Ad Nauseam and Necropotence. Casting cards like Flusterstorm can now gain you a lot of life while draining opponents at the same time. This is a fantastic card that we will love to see in a lot of decks to come. Finally, coming out on top of today's list is Culling Ritual. Ritual is a sorcery that costs 2 and a black and a green. It says destroy all non-land permanents with mana value 2 or less. Add black or green for each permanent destroyed this way. Talk about a CEDH board wipe. At face value, the 4 mana might seem intimidating at first. It also doesn't hit some of the format's more threatening commanders and other hate pieces such as Magilla, Hullbreacher, Rule of Law, Temna, and so on. To make up for this, it hits most other cards seen in CEDH. It hits every mana rock that CEDH uses: Mana Crypt, Sol Ring, Chrome Mox, Mana Vault, Mox Diamond, and so on. It kills all popular mana dorks, including Birds of Paradise, Bloom Tender, Avacyn's Pilgrim, and so on. It hits the format's most powerful draw engines like Mystic Remora, Sylvan Library, Thrasios, and Dark Confidant. It hits some of the strongest stacks pieces that slow everyone down, including Null Rod, Deafening Silence, Cursed Totem, and Thalia. It also kills tokens, including Tana Saprolines and treasure tokens. It also hits reanimation enchantments like Animate Dead, and its attached creature gets sacrificed when Animate Dead leaves. This can easily set up Ad Nauseam and Peer into the Abyss turns in addition to wiping away the problem permanents stopping you from winning. The versatility is amazing and the upsides for the caster are very high, and this is a must answer for any CEDH player. Well, there you have it, our top picks for the top CEDH cards from Strixhaven. There are a handful of powerful new additions to CEDH, not to mention great cards for casual EDH as well. We're also very excited to see this set's Masterpiece series in the form of the Mystical Archive. Since that list is made up of only reprints, we didn't include it in today's list. Needless to say, we're very excited to crack our boxes to fill out that series. If you liked any of the cards from today's list, check out the link in the description. If you're looking to pick up any other Strixhaven products, such as sealed products, Mystical Archive cards, or other CEDH singles, check that link in the description below. What do you think the best CEDH cards were from this set? Let us know in the comments below. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of Best of the Best. You can help us out by liking, sharing, subscribing, and also supporting us on Patreon. Tune in next time when we attempt to assemble the best list for our favorite format, CEDH. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.